internet democratized information, and crypto and blockchain will do the same with value. The spirit of Swell is defined by where we are and what's possible, as the world moves at an increasingly fast pace to a crypto-enabled future.
Welcome to Swell Global 2022. Please welcome Ripple CEO, Brad Garlinghouse.
I will say I am overwhelmed to see you all. The London weather certainly cooperated as London weather should. But I want to welcome you all to our 6th annual Global Swell Conference. As introduced, I'm Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. I hope it goes without saying that after 2 years of our virtual events, it's a true honor and really I feel like a privilege to be here together in London. From Toronto, our first Swell event in Toronto in year 1, to San Francisco, Singapore, and then a couple of years of virtual events, it's always been a global journey and a global event. We're especially glad to be here in London. As some of you may know, London is actually our second largest global office after San Francisco. It's been a major presence for us for a long time. But this year, we're going to be introducing what will be an ongoing theme at Swell. It's really more of a statement to rally around. I hope it resonates with you in the same way it resonates with me. And this is crypto means business. Some of you, I hope, have seen this around town in the various tube stops, Bank Station, Canary Wharf, Liverpool Street. But the crux of why we are all here together, crypto for all of us is not some imaginary concept or edge use case. It's here now, and it's here for businesses around the world. I also wanted to share that we're doing things a little bit differently this year than previous introductions to Swell. I typically have opened things up with kind of thoughts on where Ripple is today, thoughts on the macroeconomic factors that have led us to this point, and where we're going together with all of you. This year, we're going to switch that up, and in a few minutes, I'll invite CNBC's Europe anchor, Karen So, to join me up here on stage for a fireside chat. That said, I think it'd be remiss not to comment on some of what's going on in the industry and some macro thoughts. So, last week, with certainly less than the honorable demise of FTX, and more broadly, frankly, a year filled with ups and downs in the crypto and blockchain space, I want to reiterate something that Ripple has evangelized from the very beginning. Without trust and without transparency, this industry will not move forward, it will not thrive. From day one, Ripple really has taken the approach of trying to be the most transparent because we truly believe that the way to build trust with our customers is to set a standard for the whole industry. And that's been a huge part of our mission and our strategy from the earliest days. Unfortunately, with the frustrating actions of a few, truly have had an outsized impact on what otherwise has been a burgeoning industry, and it has harmed us all. I will not sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to play it down. Last week was not good for this industry, but I will commit to all of you that I deeply believe crypto will come out stronger from this as we have come out stronger from previous events. Together, with regulatory clarity, we'll make sure that transparency and trust are the bedrock of what crypto is built on. Now, I think you all would agree that Ripple has faced its share of headwinds. I'm extremely proud, despite those headwinds, I'm extremely proud of where the company is today. We've had our best 2 years in 2021 and 2022. And despite the SEC lawsuit in the United States, we have grown leaps and bounds globally. I'm excited to share with all of you that Ripple has now processed more than nearly $30 billion worth of volume since launch and over 20 million transactions since we first launched RippleNet years ago. Our flagship product, on-demand liquidity, which is really RippleNet's crypto-powered solution for instant settlement, is now available in nearly 40 payout markets. Just 2 years ago, that was only 4 payout markets. I'm proud to announce this week, we have announced that we've just gone live with the continent of Africa into the mix. So with countries like Singapore, Brazil, Mexico, our overall total reach with ODL now counts for 90% of the FX market. When I think about how far we've come, as I said, in 2020, we only had 4, and now we have nearly 40 payout markets. It's a huge testament to the team and the focus of this team in partnering with our customers to bring crypto-powered cross-border settlement to the world. This despite an incredibly turbulent crypto market. Our focus on solving real problems and delivering real-world utility has certainly paid dividends and I think has set Ripple apart, particularly during these very turbulent times. It's also a testament to the original vision of an internet of value. This isn't about one company or one token or one protocol, but rather seeing crypto become an integral part of moving value the way information moves today. This is real, this is live, and this is built for business. RippleNet customers ranging from Lemonway and BC Remit and TravelX and GMT continue to expand the use of ODL for use cases beyond just traditional remittances or individual payments, with treasury flows, bulk payments accounting for more and more volume on the network. The magic of what Ripple delivers is giving customers a one-stop shop for enterprise crypto solutions. We're using the very latest technologies to let our customers access the depth and breadth of global crypto markets for their payment needs or anything else they need leveraging crypto. Financial institutions, or FIs, are not the only customers that feel the pain. Feel the pain within the current legacy system. This has resulted in the expansion of the ODL customer set beyond just banks and financial institutions. Today, we're serving customers across trade, agriculture, e-commerce, technology, and even supply chain. We're helping customers every step of the way to make sure their wallet has sufficient liquidity at all times for the smoothest possible experience. Businesses across the world need to move value, not just financial institutions. So what's ahead? Over the next 2 days, you're also going to hear about our newest product, Liquidity Hub, which we actually announced last year at Swell. It's designed to help businesses source crypto liquidity on demand across a number of crypto assets. I'm also thrilled to share, in addition to the announcement of entering Africa, that we've announced yet another Liquidity Hub customer, Supermojo, who is live and using the product today. Liquidity Hub draws on our years of experience needing to source liquidity for ODL, which we then saw the opportunity to make this solution available to our customers. So on a macro level, we're seeing crypto's uptake in real-world use cases, whether that's for payments, tokenization of tangible assets like real estate, carbon credits, and certainly more. Over 10 years now, Ripple has been at the crux between enterprises and crypto-native services, and we are doubling down on that. This past year, we hired over 300 people. We have over 750 people at Ripple today. We have 15 offices around the world, and this past year, we added offices in Dublin, Toronto, as well as Miami. And last but certainly not least, we've been actively investing in and supporting the crypto ecosystem since at least 2015. We've invested in about 60 companies around the world, totaling well over $500 million. With that, and I know there's a lot there, I'm going to close out my initial remarks and invite Karen So on stage to join me to talk more about crypto trends and regulations. Thank you. Karen, please. Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Nice to see you again. I'll let you into a little secret. If you didn't see Squawk Box this morning, Brad was on our show early on, so a bit of a warm-up for the event. So thank you for popping into our studio today.
Well, it was an early morning arrival, and we're thrilled to have you here, so thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Hopefully we have some more tough questions for you. Now, you did kick off with the biggest industry news to date, the implosion of FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. So let's just come back to that, because I think many are still wondering what's going on and what it means for them. The second largest crypto exchange in the world, is it a king hit, a knockout blow for crypto?
You know, look, as I said, I don't want to sugarcoat it at all. It's not good for crypto, and I think when things aren't good for crypto, that's not good for Ripple. That being said, the resiliency of the crypto market, I think, is hard to understate. As you look back over the last 10 years that crypto has kind of been increasingly in the mainstream, and certainly 7 years that I've been actively involved in it, we've had a few major, almost knockout blows. And each time I think we have seen crypto come back stronger. One of the reasons for that, I really do believe, is these moments force the industry to look at what real problems are we solving. The pure speculative, and certainly a lot of the NFT hype that happened last year and kind of started to melt down in Q2, I think these are healthy moments for the market to evolve into truly being a scaled institutional, where crypto means business broadly, including for Ripple. And so I don't view it as a knockout blow at all. I think it's unfortunate. And as you and I were discussing backstage and this morning, I think it's unclear to me right now, like, is this youthful naivete? Is it malintent and truly corrupt? It's hard to know. It's hard to even know what some of the facts are right now.
This is a very different market event from one where we've seen crypto sell off aggressively. This is an implosion of a company, a collapse, a bankruptcy, versus a sell-off where some market participants are saying, is this my Warren Buffett moment? Do I get greedy while others are fearful? It's quite different. So we're talking about contagion risk right now. To what extent could there still be other issues here in the industry, another shoe to drop?
Well, I think as we saw with the Terra Luna meltdown in Q2 and the kind of contagion that then spread into Three Arrows, I think we're still seeing that. And I think even this morning it was announced that BlockFi is filing for bankruptcy because they had, I think a significant portion of their assets were on FTX. But again, I do subscribe very, fervently to the Warren Buffett saying of, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are, I got that wrong. Be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. Look, I look at this as CEO of Ripple. We have publicly shared we have over about $1 billion of cash in the bank. We are in a very strong position with a quickly growing business. We intend to play offense. In the midst of these chaotic moments, there's always opportunity, and we very much believe in the long-term vision of the crypto industry and how blockchains can fundamentally make transactions more efficient, less friction around time, around speed, around cost, and scalability. So we are long-term very bullish. Short-term, certainly unfortunate to see what was viewed as a leader in the industry crumble.
When you say you're going to play offense or go on attack, are you talking about opportunities to pick up other assets at this point? We know that CZ over at Binance was saying that they're looking at setting up some sort of fund where they could pick up assets that effectively are beaten up but are not in any form of distress. Are you talking about being predator at this point in the cycle?
I'm not going to use the word predator. Maybe opportunistic.
Well, it's either prey or predator, so let's label it as such.
Perhaps. Look, I think Ripple obviously has really enjoyed a lot of success around our core product, RippleNet, and the cross-border payment solution. As I introduced in my opening remarks, I think there are a lot of other use cases when we talk about crypto means business. For years, some of the people in this audience have approached Ripple about, hey, could you help us with this other use case around crypto? And we have tried to stay very disciplined and focused with our primary use case. But I think as we have grown and we've seen traction there, and frankly, as we hired 300 people this year, in a year otherwise marked with layoffs and layoffs and layoffs, we feel like we're in a strong position to work on other use cases. And to some degree, Liquidity Hub, which I also talked about, is an example of that. But I think you'll see us pursue other kind of crypto-native solutions focused on business in the future.
I wonder whether you're ignoring the macro, because if you look elsewhere across the technology industry, even big-name technology companies are getting the message they need to cut back. I mean, the latest was Alphabet overnight, some large investors pushing back about the pace of hiring and also the cost base of the salaries paid to even top-level engineers at this point. Don't you need to be mindful that this is not an expansionary type of environment?
By the way, I totally agree with that question, and I have asked myself that question, and our senior leadership team at Ripple, we've talked about that. It's also a time when you can actually take the most market share, when others are being cautious and retrenching to play offense. We feel like we are in a strong financial position. We have a growing business. We have customers who are demanding and seeking our help with other types of solutions. And so, look, we hired about, I think, 110 or 115 people in Q3 alone. And not surprisingly, our employees are asking the same question of like, hey, should I be nervous? And We've continued to hire primarily around engineering and product in Q4, and as we look forward to 2023, we expect to continue to grow. That doesn't mean we're not asking the hard questions about what's working and what's not working, and we just had a leadership offsite last week where we kind of push ourselves and push each other to make sure we're asking those questions. Because I agree with you, it makes you second guess some of your decisions when every day there's a new announcement around layoffs, but I do think it's an opportunity as well, and so we're continuing to play offense.
Well, if you think about the backdrop, we've got US interest rates, on course for a terminal rate of somewhere around 5%, either under that or over that amount. We had some encouraging inflation figures in the last 24 hours and the last week or so in the States, but even here in Europe, we are talking about much higher inflation for much longer, tightening going into a recession. We just had 11.1% print on UK inflation today. So we may not be getting ahead of some of the challenges. What are clients doing in that context? Are they still willing to go after the crypto space when, quite frankly, they have other priorities now?
I think customers and clients think about it as if you're solving a problem, if you're delivering a better product, a better solution that is reducing cost, increasing efficiency, that's always interesting. It may be there's more distractions. And look, I think it's almost, I was going to say it's almost funny that we view maybe 7% inflation as a positive trend. That's still far from where we were not long ago. And again, I think at the most macro basis, I think some of those dynamics, unfortunately, are very good for the crypto industry and what's going on in crypto at large. But look, where Ripple is today, yes, we use crypto solutions to solve problems that we think make these industries more efficient. And so if we're thinking about just as, hey, we're a crypto company, I don't think that's the right way to think about it. Customers want better products. They want better solutions. And if we can deliver those things, I think we'll continue to thrive in this market as well.
While we're still talking about momentum, I want to pick up on the industry events as well, separate to the macro. Clearly, it's been a distressing, difficult period of time. To what extent have you been fielding phone calls from clients also pushing the pause button at this stage, waiting for the dust to settle around FTX, around some other industry players, and of course on the back of Terra Luna early this year too?
We definitely have had some of that. And, we try, in our kind of infrastructure capabilities, we have had, partners of ours, whether it's market makers, et cetera, who are kind of like pausing, let's make sure, and it has created challenges to make sure that our customers, that's invisible. We want to make sure that our customers have a seamless experience regardless of what's going on around us. And that has meant that, some Ripple employees are working kind of 24/7 right now. But at the end of the day, I do think this is a blip. There's still a macro dynamic where there's a lot of liquidity in the crypto markets. And I think to the extent we can leverage that to solve these customer problems, then we'll continue to do so. But there will be, I think, I'm not trying to walk away from, the contagion I don't think is over. There'll be other shoes to fall, as we saw with BlockFi this morning.
You say there's a lot of liquidity in the industry. Some say there's too much leverage still. Take out the leverage, you lose some liquidity, don't you?
Yeah, I have two reactions to that. One is, Ripple has no debt. We have, simply said we've basically never had any debt. And so, but I do think that there are some that the liquidity dynamic got ahead of reality because of leverage. I think that you're seeing a lot of that has already come out, and maybe more will come out. But if you step back to 10,000, 100,000 feet, the long-term dynamics. When I joined Ripple 7.5, 8 years ago, the total crypto market maybe had, I'll say $20 million a day in liquidity, and today it's billions of dollars a day in liquidity. And so it's frustrating to go through these moments, but I think if you look at it from 100,000 feet, and I think what we'll be talking about at Swell to some degree, we'll hear from lots of customers, is a long-term view of how do we use these technologies to solve real-world problems.
I'll work with you on this. So we step out, we take a look at the industry. The unique selling point of the industry was the decentralized nature of crypto. But now as you start to look at what's happening, the industry consolidation around exchanges, FTX, market share goes somewhere else, likely Binance, for instance. Morgan Stanley recently warned that some of the cryptos really rely on just a handful of cloud service providers. Ethereum, one example, 65% of its nodes are cloud hosted and half use Amazon Web Services. So this decentralized claim, isn't it a false promise when we really drill down into some of the backdrop here around cloud services and exchanges and other industry players?
Well, I think that does get to, the FTX demise is not good for the industry, and I agree with you that it adds concentration. I have seen conflicting data that, Binance has, I've seen some data that says they have 20% of global market share. I've seen other data that says they have closer to 40 to 50%. I don't know, I'm not an expert at that, but I do think that some of the kind of, I'll really describe it, overhyped dynamics of decentralization. Look, customers want their problems solved. If you can do that at scale, reliably, customers are going to trust you more and more and more to deliver that. I think some of these things are, you draw attention to it, and look, AWS is a concentrated host for well more than just Ethereum nodes, right? When AWS has gone down, you've seen big parts of the internet go down. So I don't view that as specific to crypto or ETH. But again, if you zoom out, the long-term trend for all of these services are more reliable, more customers can depend upon them. But we have to be smart about that in the crypto industry to make sure we're growing up in a way that you do have redundancy, so that you can solve if AWS or nodes of AWS go down, that you don't lose that reliability for our customers.
Let's talk about your customers. Who's using your service today, and who do you think will be your customer in 5 years' time?
From the very beginning, our customer has been financial institutions. That has ranged from large banks to payment providers, some of whom are regional, and you wouldn't necessarily sitting here in London know their names. I highlighted a handful in my opening remarks around. We recently announced a deal when we went live with ODL in Brazil, Travelex, BC Remit. The list of customers has grown and grown and grown. At the end of the day, though, they all kind of have the same shape of these are enterprises that are focused on moving money cross-border, and that we feel like that's a customer set that, the market opportunity is very large. As I said publicly for the first time, that we've now passed $30 billion of transaction volume, which the whole scheme of global transactions is small, but for a company that 2 years ago, was just getting started, we're super proud of how far that has come.
I spent a lot of time with the payments industry, and the one thing that jumps out is it's a very scrappy industry. It's a large industry, and there's small pieces of the pie that everybody's going after, but no one that can truly connect up the whole system. How does crypto alter that equation?
Well, I think at the core, crypto makes it more efficient. I mean, here are scrappy players that if you can help some of our customers expand into new corridors, because I do think one of the things that gets lost by the media and how particularly Ripple's solution is solving is it mitigates the need to pre-fund. We have some of our customers who are building their entire infrastructure on Ripple, so that as we go from 4 payout markets with ODL 2 years ago to 40 today, that allows them to grow as well. So I think that scrappiness has served Ripple well, and I think to the extent we can help them grow and more capital efficiently, as opposed to having to raise a lot of money to participate in those pre-funded accounts to open new corridors, that helps them grow more quickly and it helps Ripple grow.
I want to pick up on due diligence a bit more, because one of the big changes now around regulation is whether there should be proof of reserves. We're at the voluntary part of this stage where everybody's coming out saying, I'm going to prove that I have the amount sitting here on balance sheet to cover anything that's committed. Do you think this is the right gesture from the industry, and should it go a step further and be mandatory regulation from lawmakers, at least in major jurisdictions?
So, I mean, as I said in my opening remarks, I think the word transparency, ironically, it's been part of blockchain from the beginning, because blockchains are inherently, at least the open source blockchains, they are inherently, you're able to see transparently all the transactions. Ripple has tried to be extremely transparent. We started in 2017 publishing what we call the XRP Markets Report, where the idea around proof of reserves that we've shared for the last 5 or 6 years, exactly kind of here's how much XRP we own, here's how much we have sold, here's how much we have repurchased. We've been doing this for a long time, not because governments required us to, but because we think it's the right way to manage a business, particularly when you have lots of stakeholders in the ecosystem. There's other companies here today building on top of the XRP ledger, and we want, as a significant player in the XRP ledger, we want everyone to know, hey, here's how we are operating, here's what we're doing. So the movement towards proof of reserves, I think, is fabulous. To some degree, I feel like, well, we've been doing that for a long time.
But Brad, it can be a lovely piece of fiction. If there is no rule standing behind this, you can come up with anything at this point. And if regulators in your jurisdiction in the United States move quickly and demand it, but it's not required elsewhere, it means you're held to account, but other players are not. So isn't it time that we see some sort of industry standard globally?
Well, again, I feel like we've been calling for that for a long time. And again, we're not doing it because the U.S. government is saying we need to do it. We're doing it because this is the right way to manage a business and to build trust with a community and our customers. And so I view it as, literally, if you read the first 3 lines of our XRP markets report, one of the things is we literally introduce it by saying, we do this to provide transparency. We're calling on the whole industry to match this level of transparency. You haven't seen that, and certainly the FTX dynamic, sorry, it's not funny. Unfortunately, the FTX dynamic is evidence of that. The call to action of proof of reserves, I think, is a very positive step. Should we have governments mandate it in some way? Look, I think that different governments are going to handle this differently. I do think there's a risk that people look at FTX as a crypto-specific problem. As you and I were talking backstage, I mean, if you believe what is reported, and I don't know exactly what to believe right now, but this is a fraud. This is, you don't need new laws to deal with this. So it'll be interesting to see how different governments react to this. And I do think we should, as a global community of crypto enthusiasts and interested parties, we want that regulation. That actually helps us. But what we need is clear regulation, which the United States obviously has not been leading that.
Well, and you've been engaged in a tussle with the SEC, which boils down to whether you're a security or commodity. Why not just go after the fact that you are a security, take the regulation, get the entire industry to be classed as a security?
So you're kind to call it a tussle. I'd call it a war, but regardless, look, if all tokens are securities, now you're subject to laws around securities that would add a lot of friction and add a lot of cost. So it would change the dynamic of how efficient blockchains can actually solve some of these problems. Moreover, what I would say to those kind of advocating that is, well, then the SEC needs to provide the clarity around how would that work. Right now, where would XRP trade? You can't list it on the NASDAQ. Coinbase is not a broker-dealer, so you couldn't list it on Coinbase. So if the SEC, for example, had a real plan and they had thought through this, they would actually have done the hard work to create a framework for crypto to trade as a security in potentially a more efficient way. Now, look, the reality is I think it's extremely clear, even by the law in the United States, and actually I'll digress by pointing out something I think I said on Squawk Box this morning. The only country on the planet that thinks XRP is a security is the United States. Globally, and here in the UK, we can operate with clarity, and the reason why our business has grown so much outside the United States is because you have countries like Japan, Singapore, the UK, Switzerland, Abu Dhabi, UAE, who have made it clear, and therefore companies and Ripple and other entrepreneurs can build in those environments with clarity about what the rules are. In the United States, the SEC, I think, has really just tried to do a power grab and extend what the law says. And the law, we think, is pretty clear on this, and so we're looking forward to the resolution in the court.
I've worked in some of these jurisdictions that you mentioned, so let me ask you about jurisdiction arbitrage. Who is the natural winner for the crypto crowd here? I mean, the UK is trying to fight back under Rishi Sunak. We know Singapore is fairly competitive in the Asian market, but it is really Dubai that has stood out in recent years going after crypto. So who do you think wins in this global fight for the crypto dollar, or whatever we call it at this point?
I don't think there'll be one winner. I think you're going to have different jurisdictions where capital entrepreneurs gravitate because the rules are clear. I frankly don't think it's that dissimilar than the late 90s in the United States. I'm not a young guy anymore, and I was in Silicon Valley in the late 90s. And to some degree, the reason why so much success around the internet was the epicenter was in the U.S. is because the laws were clear. The United States passed a series of laws to provide clarity about how the internet would be regulated. That allowed capital and entrepreneurs to invest and grow in the United States. And so I think that countries like the UAE, UK, Japan that provided that clarity, you're seeing entrepreneurs flow to those locations. Now, I think some people use regulatory arbitrage as kind of a bad word, and I think certainly we're not talking about, esoteric kind of small countries or small islands. I don't want to pick on FTX.
Bahamas.
I don't think that's certainly that's not how Ripple's trying to operate. And I think that the leading players in this space are also not trying to operate that way.
We've got about a minute left, so let's talk about opportunities and growth from here and try and end on a high note for your business. What is the greatest opportunity you see from here for the next 12 months?
Well, look, I will start with the core kind of flagship of where Ripple is, RippleNet and our product ODL. Although we're extremely pleased by how far we have come, the opportunity ahead is measured in the many, many billions and even trillions of dollars. So, we are obviously doubling down on that. But as I said, there's other kind of crypto native services, what we internally call crypto primitives, that we feel like partners of ours are already demanding. This ranges from custody, from compliance capabilities, and partnering with our customers to be able to help them with those and deliver other solutions beyond just the payments piece we think is going to be in our future.
Brad, thank you very much for taking the questions.
Thank you for joining us, Karen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're here today because we believe in bridges between traditional financial systems and the new world of crypto-enabled systems, not boundaries. The internet democratized information, and crypto and blockchain will do the same with value. The spirit of Swell is defined by where we are and what's possible, as the world moves at an increasingly fast pace to a crypto-enabled future.
Welcome to Swell Global 2022. Please welcome Ripple CEO, Brad Garlinghouse.
I will say I am overwhelmed to see you all. The London weather certainly cooperated as London weather should. But I want to welcome you all to our 6th annual Global Swell Conference. As introduced, I'm Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. I hope it goes without saying that after 2 years of our virtual events, it's a true honor and really I feel like a privilege to be here together in London. From Toronto, our first Swell event in Toronto in year 1, to San Francisco, Singapore, and then a couple of years of virtual events, it's always been a global journey and a global event. We're especially glad to be here in London. As some of you may know, London is actually our 2nd largest global office after San Francisco. It's been a major presence for us for a long time. But this year, we're going to be introducing what will be an ongoing theme at Swell. It's really more of a statement to rally around. I hope it resonates with you in the same way it resonates with me. And this is crypto means business. Some of you, I hope, have seen this around town in the various tube stops, Bank Station, Canary Wharf, Liverpool Street. But the crux of why we are all here together, crypto for all of us is not some imaginary concept or edge use case. It's here now, and it's here for businesses around the world. I also wanted to share that we're doing some things a little bit differently this year than previous introductions to Swell. I typically have opened things up with kind of thoughts on where Ripple is today, thoughts on the macroeconomic factors that have led us to this point, and where we're going together with all of you. This year, we're going to switch that up, and in a few minutes, I'll invite CNBC's Europe anchor, Karen So, to join me up here on stage for a fireside chat. That said, I think it'd be remiss not to comment on some of what's going on in the industry and some macro thoughts. So, last week, with certainly less than the honorable demise of FTX, and more broadly, frankly, a year filled with ups and downs in the crypto and blockchain space, I want to reiterate something that Ripple has evangelized from the very beginning. Without trust and without transparency, this industry will not move forward, it will not thrive. From day one, Ripple really has taken the approach of trying to be the most transparent because we truly believe that the way to build trust with our customers is to set a standard for the whole industry. And that's been a huge part of our mission and our strategy from the earliest days. Unfortunately, with the frustrating actions of a few, truly have had an outsized impact on what otherwise has been a burgeoning industry, and it has harmed us all. I will not sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to play it down. Last week was not good for this industry, but I will commit to all of you that I deeply believe crypto will come out stronger from this as we have come out stronger from previous events. Together with regulatory clarity, we'll make sure that transparency and trust are the bedrock of what crypto is built on. Now, I think you all would agree that Ripple has faced its share of headwinds. I'm extremely proud, despite those headwinds, I'm extremely proud of where the company is today. We've had our best 2 years in the last, all of you, that Ripple has now processed more than nearly $30 billion worth of volume since launch and over 20 million transactions since we first launched RippleNet years ago. Our flagship product, on-demand liquidity, which is really RippleNet's crypto-powered solution for instant settlement, is now available in nearly 40 payout markets. Just 2 years ago, that was only 4 payout markets. I'm proud to announce this week, we have announced that we've just gone live with the continent of Africa into the mix. So with countries like Singapore, Brazil, Mexico, our overall total reach with ODL now counts for 90% of the FX market. When I think about how far we've come, as I said, in 2020, we only had 4, and now we have nearly 40 payout